Good afternoon. I'm Keiton Guess, the Communication Specialist for Aglehan University, an enrolled member of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and today we have...
Hello, my name is Victor Makes Room for Them, but I go by Rocky.
In our studio today. Please introduce yourself a little bit and tell our listeners a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born here in Rosebud. I grew up in a community called Spring Creek and got to grow up in a time where there were a lot of Lakota speakers, and at that time I was immersed in it, and that was kind of like my childhood. And then through life happening with my parents and whatnot, we ended up in Minnesota. And from there, I kind of just went to school, high school, always back and forth to Rosebud, visiting or ceremony or doing something. But I always stayed connected to Rosebud, and I just kind of went off like everybody else in the world. And if you go out and leave the reservation and you go out and into the world, I did those things. I went to the Marine Corps. After that, I went to college and graduated. And there was an opportunity for me to teach something that I knew about just by being who I was and being in the Lakota and the stuff I learned. And it was like a teaching opportunity around the year 2000. And that's actually the first time I started my life of teaching. I've been teaching for 25 years. This is where I'm at in my journey. I'm here at Wicoaye University in Lakota Studies. And it's kind of the quick story of a background. I have my son Avery, I have daughter Ebba. I have other daughter Maya. I have all these, I have a lot of godchildren and hunk-ah relatives that I've made through ceremony. So I have blessed with children, and I have a younger brother Roland, and I have an older sister Bernie. I'm the middle child, and my dad was from Rosebud. My mom is from White Mountain Apache in Arizona. So I got to grow up in some real tradition. I got to go back and forth from Arizona and Rosebud as a kid, and was immersed in language there. My mom's fluent speaker in Apache, and so are all her relatives. So I didn't get to hear English too much, even when I was a kid. Either I was there or in Spring Creek, there was really that much language going on. And what else? Otherwise, I like to write. I'm a poet. I do lots of things. I've done artistic things, and I've just dabbled in lots of things. I've had fortunate to have lots of good friends and did whatever they were doing. They let me in their world, and whether it was like messing with blowing glass and making things out of glass with art. I got to do a little bit of that, or even graffiti, or doing all these surfing. So otherwise, that's just kind of a little bit about myself, I guess, as much as I could think of who I am at the moment.
No, that's awesome. What were some of the key decisions that led you to where you are today?
Well, when I started teaching, I started seeing these students and learning the things that I taught them. And to me, that was great. I was really excited about that. And then working with different spectrum of ages, whether it's K through high school or high school through or college, you get to see the different student levels of where they are and how they receive the information I've given them or whatever. And it makes me it's really cool to see the results and how they either memorize it or are they actually like what they're learning and don't forget it.
What does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day for me in the coming to work is definitely I come here and just like everybody else, I'm sure we check all our emails to try to stay in the game, right? We have to stay in the loop. So we have other things, curricular things that a lot of us have to do that come with our job duties. So we always check that to see what's going on and to see if we're in it or, what our role is in the community, in our SGU community. But I do that first and then I prep my classes. I teach. So really my role is just teaching right now. And I'm really glad I don't have too much other things on my plate. But I come in and I go over my classes. I make sure I'm prepared with my lesson. I plan it, I time it out, and I check on my students if I have spare time to see, like maybe if they missed the class, I see why I try to keep them engaged and not lose them. That's a kind of a challenge, is trying to keep your students, interested in class. And so that's what my typical day is. I come into work, check my email, and I prep for my classes. I always like it to be a week ahead of my classes. So I'm always making sure that I'm ahead of myself. And then when my class comes on, it's usually online or blended. And so I'll do that for a good solid up to 2 to 3 hours, depending on the class. And then after that, I kind of de-escalate a little bit and figure out how that went and, do attendance. And then I kind of just think about my next class. Like right now I'm teaching 5 classes. And so I don't know if that's a lot or not compared to other faculty, but for me, it's just the right amount for me. I mean, it sounds like a lot, and it kind of is, but when you're teaching something you like and love, it's just seems like a regular workload for me. And so
that's awesome. One thing you talked about that you just said was how you reflect after classes, and that kind of brings us into this next question. Can you describe a recent project you worked on and the challenges you faced?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. There's a couple of things I'm juggling, I guess. But what I have done with other faculty is every year we have the SGU Founders Week, and that consists of a whole agenda of forums, Monday through Friday. Everybody's in on it, no matter what department you're in. You have to either be there recording or filming, or you got to help set up, or you're presenting, or you're there to support. Someone's giving a lecture, you show up for their support. And there's really a lot of engaging things. Well, anyways, having said that, my role in that was on Friday, there's the Wachipi, or powwow. And that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that consists of a whole arrangement of things just to make that happen, from food to MCs to media to marketing to money spent, how that's going to be, everything across the board, how we're going to feed these people, how are we going to have a good time, and how can do this without too many obstacles. And I was fortunate to be asked to coordinate, to be the lead person on that project. And so I said, sure, let's do it. And we just went for it. And there was a lot of, so everything I just told you is everything what I realized that became of it. So it was really a lot of planning, a lot of meetings with people. And then also is a lot of finding out what happened last year. You had to figure out what happened last year, because there were people involved that were asked to come back this year. And so we kind of there's really a lot of things that happened in that project, and it was really fun. It was exciting, and I'm not sure if I want to do it again next year, but no, I'm just kidding. But it was good. I think it turned out well. We did have even a reflection of that, how everybody was involved and how did it happen? What could we have done better? What went wrong? And just from regular mild humanness things, actually we pulled it off, and it was pretty successful. And I don't know. That's a project I kind of took on, and it was, even though it was a weekend project, it really turned out to be a couple months project. So.
Yeah. And I'd say it was a good turnout, being there. What are the most important skills needed to succeed in your field?
I think you have to. Could you run that question by me again?
Yeah, no, sure. What are the most important skills needed to succeed in your field?
Okay, that's a good question. I think right away, for me, anyways, to be a really productive instructor is my communication has to be really at a high level, and I have to take notes. I have to have things to write on account. Like I really have to be prepared, and I think my communication is the number one thing, because it's like when you go into your classroom, you just have to be on. You have to be professional, no matter what's going on in your life. Kind of have to put that to. It's kind of like all right, I'm going on, and I'm gonna. It's like maybe a performance. I don't want to say that, but it's more like, because maybe I'm not a performer, but I'm just saying, like, you have to go on. You have to be confident in what you're presenting. You have to know what your content is, and you have to be like sympathetic to your students also, and where they're at on the spectrum, and making sure they're following the content you're giving. And it really is about communication. I think to be really successful in this, you have to be considerate. You have to practice a lot of these things that are morals and ethical, that are sometimes sometimes you just want a day where you don't have to do that. I hope this isn't going the wrong way.
No, you're all good. No, one thing I like that you said though was how you have to go on. I taught for a little bit, and you have to be an entertainer in there. You have to keep their attention. You have to be able to present things knowledgeably and what you know about. So I definitely understand that. So another question I have for you is, how do you balance your work-life relationship?
Oh man, that's a great question, because I'm such a nerd in this that I go home and after I'm eating dinner, or even while I'm watching a movie or something, I'll open my computer and I'll start to work again, just because that's what's in me. Or I'll have to read a book that maybe I don't want to read, but I'll have to read it. And so, like, I bring it home. I really I feel blessed that I'm able to do that, because my kids are growing up. I'm not chasing around kids, or I'm kind of a single. I'm just by myself, and so it gives me a lot of time to focus on my work, and I just bring it home with me. I'm just a nerd like that.
No, that's awesome. You're one of the few people I know that actually gets to, their job is doing what they love, and can't go wrong with that. My next question for you is, what advice would you give someone looking to enter this field?
Oh, I would say learn, listen as much as you can to anybody that's willing to give you any kind of knowledge. Be open-minded, be open-hearted, and really just have a real sense of respect of what people are willing to tell you. And when you absorb that, for some reason, it absorbs with already the knowledge that you have, and it just broadens you more. And I think that, I can say, I mean, if you're coming into Lakota studies, I would tell you to go to as many ceremonies you could, language things that are going on in mainstream, lots of wachipi or powwows. I would go to as many language tables as I could. I'd go to storytelling events. I would go to even elders and offer them a gift, or, something like that, and say, could you share some stories? I would literally go out I have done these things to literally go out of my way to say, hey, I know you know something about this. Will you share it with me? I think the people that are in Lakota studies, they know that really something you can't really learn too much out of the books. That's what it's one of the thing where you have to either like grow up in it, live it.
Yep.
It's you got to be really. So that's what makes us different than other departments. Like with the studies, it's who are the teachers and where where are they? What do they bring to the something like that?
Are there any other people within your department that you would recommend students to speak with?
Oh yes, I was able to get to know the people in our department, and they all have their own knowledge keeper. They're all their own knowledge keepers in their own special way, and that's the greatest thing about it. And we don't, as far as I know, by meeting them and their demeanor and everything, everybody's chill. Everybody's really down to earth, and that's really a good thing to see because we're practicing our Lakota values. I think So when we're in this, it's kind of like you really got to live up to the walk of the Lakota values, right? To be in this kind of department. Not to like undermine any other departments, but there's this kind of like a sense of like there's something like that. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. One thing I like what you just said was you guys are knowledge keepers, and definitely that knowledge is power. Something that can't be taken away from you. So I know the university and the students really appreciate what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, thanks. I really am blessed to have this position. I feel that's a good spot for where I'm at right now.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Rocky. Really appreciate you.
Yes, thanks. You guys have a good day, and thanks for having me here. Opila, Doksha Ake.